I've been trying to record this podcast episode since morning, and it's been really hard. And I've been pining and pining to figure out, why is this thing so hard? You're just speaking to a camera, right? And I think that what, not even I think, I know what helps me most is to write down my thoughts. And so I'm just gonna read. If you're seeing this on camera, God bless you. But if you're listening to this via audio, yeah. So it's really scary to do a new thing in your life, whether it's related to your personal or professional endeavors. It's really scary. And it's even scarier to do it in public, to do it while everyone is watching, to make sure you hit the right audience, to stretch yourself beyond your own imagination or what you've been taught. At the end of the day, I'm scared. What I'm known best for is doing things while scared, but this podcast is really hard. Hard because much of my processing happens in my brain. I strategize for others, I build for others, I prep content for others. I'm a vision to details, girly, true and true. I can, see the truth of a person's goals and your visions, and I can turn it into reality. I don't want to say I'm a miracle worker because I honestly can plan and do everything I can within my own professional power, to make an event, to make content, to make my clients, management and speaking clients, successful. But the world, the universe, God, whoever you believe in, is ultimately ultimately at play. But at the end of the day, I'm a planner. Um, and so this podcast is a bit of an Achilles heel for me, because it's about what's actually on my mind, right? And how poetic to be naming a podcast Current Mind. Um, and today of all days, my mind is scattered. I cannot strategize whatsoever this moment. Um, I'm just a really sentimental person. I love and I care deeply. I work with what I have and successfully too. Um, but this podcast really pulls on me, and what I think, who I am, what I like, and why. And it's pulling on me in a time where I'm doing everything scared. I'm starting a crowdfunding campaign scared. I'm doing some new services scared, restarting aspects of my businesses scared, um, doing some, starting some new routines in my personal health scared, living in a new country scared. Um, all around, it's it's fear. And to do a podcast whereby I can't just sit and give, because it's not necessarily the structure, but I can't just sit and give you a potential speaking client or a friend or um advice, because that's just not where I'm at. I am scared AF. So if you have felt this way, or if you've ever felt this way, and you're really trying to navigate this point in your life where you're trying to do, or you're doing a lot of things scared all at once, welcome to Current Mind. So, this isn't the first time I've done something scared. I remember when first of all, I went off to college. I grew up, backing up a lot of things. So, I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, or really right outside of Atlanta, in one of the suburbias. I, grew up within a Nigerian American household. My mom was very instrumental in making sure my siblings and I understood where we came from, our family's heritage, um, and that really informed what I later went on to study. Um, just yeah, Nigerian American, but also Igbo in particular as a ethnic group, and then we also speak Igbo as a language. And so a lot of the things we did were community based, everything. I mean, weekends, like we really spent it with family, friends, aunties, uncles, church, and just really getting rooted in not just community, but also in understanding where we came from. So I've always been a roots person. Um, Not in the, I guess, traditional sense, not, you stay home and you stay home as in like you stay close to family, you grow up in the same like I don't really have that because my family's first, or my siblings and I are first gen American, and so family overall is just kind of spread out. But what I mean is like um I've always been somebody who prefers to understand the why, right? Like we are this way because of this culture and our history, et cetera, et cetera. So I've always been a why person. And so along with being involved with dance and Igbo lessons and hearing spoken amongst like my family and um aunties, uncles, I started listening to classical Egyptian music and also a lot of like Ivorian and Cameroonian music as well. And so that also kind of sparked a curiosity in me and understanding their communities through language and music. And so all this to say, when I got to college in South Carolina, I studied French and Arabic as well as business and culture. It was a liberal arts school, so your course study you can kind of, I don't want to say pick and choose because of course there were some parameters there, but um you could envision where you want to be, like really make your world or really consider how your studies would, interact with the world that you professionally wanted to go into. And so that led me to studying in Tunisia, Tanzania, a couple of other countries before graduating, and then going on to um yeah, to live in the US for a bit, or not a bit, but like, live in the US post college for a bit before moving to Nigeria. And so I moved to Lagos 2 years ago in March, and it feels like yesterday. And I remember and I had moved not even directly from the US, but I moved from Algeria to Nigeria. And I remember like everybody's like, "Oh, people are running from Nigeria and here you are, you want to run back." Like I at the time, like I knew it was crazy. I knew I was scared. I knew, but it's just I'm a Christian, I'm a faith person. I just knew I needed to be here. Um I knew I needed to be mindful of what I was set on this earth to do. And at the time, I thought it meant largely focusing on music business or music industry, and it wasn't. So in 2024 is when I pivoted. So sorry, I'm fast forwarding a lot because I have so much on my mind. But I got to Nigeria, I got settled in here, got an apartment, started building community and friends around me, and I was like so gung ho about finding a job here in music. I was like, Ur Collective is cool, but I'm not really an entrepreneur. I'm just kind of building this thing so that I have sort of my own hub of like, things I'm doing within the music industry. But as soon as I find this corporate job, like I'm just going to drop this project because, like entrepreneurship is not for me, right? I'm a structures girl. I like rules. I like responsibilities. I like um particulars. And so that's not what this was. I did not like my first L was, like, getting here and realize, and I don't wanna say, like, it's an L for, like, loss, but, like, first lesson. And getting here is realizing that the music industry in Lagos in particular, but Nigeria looks very different from the rest of the world. A lot of the similar components and whatnot, but it looks very different. And it's not the difference that I necessarily wanted to embrace. I wanted to still be creative and still work with creatives, but I missed um I miss curating conversations. I miss building events and agendas that like really um brought impact. And not to say that the music is not impactful here, but I just felt like I don't want to say needed in the industry, but I just felt that I loved working with speakers more. I loved working with experts who are in different industries more. And if you're listening to this, I haven't even said much about Uru, but we are a speaker, but it is as a speaker agency that manages African and Middle Eastern speakers, as well as, serving as an agent, not just a manager, alongside curating content for their podcast, newsletters, social media. So we broker a lot of brand deals. And yeah, funny enough, it started off as a more so music focused business and has grown since then. But anyways, back to the story. So I'm living in Nigeria. I'm here. This is in the first year of like living here, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna, find a job in the music industry, and then slowly realizing this isn't the only thing I want to be part of or to have my hands in. And at the top of 2024, pivoting to focusing on speakers or expanding to speakers and their platforms. And so and so from there, that's where Ooh Collective in its current iteration um grew or began. And since then, like I've been working primarily with one client, as well as doing some, event management gigs and a few conferences here and there. And it's it's really been it's really been a hard journey. I don't want to say come to Nigeria or come to Lagos, especially as a first gen who much of your life was in or is in America. I don't want to say like, come here, but this is not even what this podcast is not about that. It's not about whether or not you should come to Nigeria. It's about being scared. It's about being this episode rather is about being scared and still doing your thing. And the thing is like the thing that changes when you're okay. So the thing that changes when you move from one location to another is a lot of things, right? But you're going from having your idea out in the ethos and thinking, okay, like this would be something cool to do or just kind of try it, right? But when you make a move, it doesn't even need to be in a whole another country like me or another state or another city. Like a move in making a post or telling your friend about it or telling just something that goes beyond your immediate self. It moves from processing in private to processing in public, and that is a very that I think that's for me where the fear is. And it makes me question like what changes when we process things in public? Like why is it so scary? And I think it's so scary because suddenly you're faced with a lot of things, a lot of like personal irritations. And I think for me, making this podcast has really, really, really hit on my perfectionism and OCD. And I mean like I don't wanna say, like, actual OCD, but, like, yeah, like, diagnosed OCD and, like, the feeling of being vulnerable in a place where I'm already feeling vulnerable because I didn't grow up here. So half the time I'm trying to, like and even though it's, like, relative to my heritage, so half the time I'm trying to, like, play catch up and slash, like, read up on, like, Nigerian news in the morning so that I can make sure I know what the hell is going on. And it's like, okay, so cool. So I'm already vulnerable here, like, socially. I've already launched a crowdfunding campaign that invites people to look into something that has been in my brain and something that I actively want to grow. Like, I've made it a goal of mine to grow in 2025. And I was just, initially like, okay, like I'll just get a bunch of clients and like I'll somehow scale quietly. And it's like, it's to be perceived, it's hard. And it's hard because it's like you go again, you go from processing in private to processing in public. So this podcast episode, like it's not what I planned in terms of, oh, here's how I'm going to introduce myself and tell people about Uru Collective or about this podcast in particular, because this is supposed to be a space for me whereby I'm not strategizing. I'm not um yeah, I'm not strategizing. I'm not giving you a one, two, three on what you should do when you're scared, because I don't flip and know. I don't know. But what I do know is that, and as part of this fear, you really have to get through the cringe, right? On the other side of this fear is this level of cringe and this level of oh my god, I can't believe I actually did that. Like, yeah, it that like as soon as you feel it, you have to embrace it. And I hate it. I hate it. Like I hate it. And oh my gosh, I really wanted this episode to be like all peace and love, and but that's just not where I am. Again, this is current mind. This is current mind, and I'm so sorry that link 'cause I'm so sorry. Like, no, I'm not sorry, actually. Welcome. This is where we're at. These are the rantings of a girl who is trying to build a business, and um, I'm trying to build a business. I'm doing it while scared. I'm crowdfunding. I am trying to get in a habit of expressing my thoughts and processing publicly, not just privately, not just within myself. Um, and yeah. And so for you who's listening, hopefully till the end, I wonder how many things you've put off, how many dreams have we delayed, honestly, because we don't want to be watched in the middle of the messy, right? Um, and as somebody who, seemingly in my life, like it can look like I've done everything that scares me, right? I'm just so fearless, but it's not. I don't want to say it's not a truth, but like I mean, yeah, I'll do something scared, but I'll do it quietly, if that makes sense. And so with this podcast, it's my first test in doing something scared and doing it publicly, and sharing my thoughts as I move along. Um, there's again like this fear of like, well, okay, like what if a year from now, like, it's actual or realize or somebody finds this audio, and I mean obviously they will because it's on the internet, right? And they're like, well, look how she was doing things in the beginning. What a fraud, right? Like, um, and as I vocalize it, like, there's something bigger in me, and like it's, God saying like, why are you so concerned about that? Like if they said that, like what then does it take anything away from you? And yeah, it's a question for myself that I have to answer, and the answer is no, it doesn't take anything away from me, right? And so I am somebody who does things while I'm scared, but this is a journey and a test in doing things not just while I'm scared, but also sharing my thoughts as I move along and trying to um, out loud tinker with what I'm trying to build and things that I'm trying to discover, not just about myself, but about Uru and this crowdfunding campaign and um, being a founder. So. Um, if you're here and maybe there's something you're scared to do too, and maybe, just maybe, we can do these scary things together. We're still at the top of 2025. It's not too late whatsoever for you to start on whatever it is that you want to start on, really. Um, and I'd love to hear from you. What's something you're or what's something you've been afraid to start? Because for me, it's definitely this podcast, and the crowdfunding campaign, and maybe some other things as I move along throughout the year that I'm hoping to start. But send me a message, and I'm happy to talk about it. Thank you so much for being here in a very what I feel to be a chaotic first episode, and not what I at all wrote or positioned in my pilot or trailer. Thank you for listening. And if you take nothing else from this episode, take this. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to start and start past the cringe. So much for being here. Thank you for listening. And if you really take nothing else from this episode, do it scared. So you can find me, Neka Mogbo, on Instagram primarily at Neka's Mind. And then for the show, you'll find updates on our agency Instagram page at urucollective.co. And then any other social media handles will be in the show notes. You can check out our website for updates and as well as sign up for our newsletter so you don't miss any agency updates, but updates about the podcast as well. Thanks so much for listening. Like, subscribe, leave a review. Thanks. Tell a friend to tell a friend. All right. Thanks so much, guys.